So here we go, everybody. It's time for another theory. We're coming with the theories. So let's just get into it, shall we? What is up, everybody? Bobby here, the Nintendo Guru, man, and we have another theory for you guys today. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in all the land. But before we do that, I want to point out to Spoopy, in the last video that I did about Roost and Cyrus, he said, there are so many characters we have yet to see make an appearance. The list is longer than I thought it would be. But we still haven't seen Rover, Cap'n, Pelly and Phyllis, Pete, Brewster, Copper and Booker, Harriet, Katrina, Dr. Shrunk, Lyle, Crazy Red, Wendell, Pascal, Gracie, and Tortimer. I never got to play New Leaf because I wasn't able to get a 3DS, and it seems silly to get one now because New Horizons will be better than New Leaf, so I may be missing other characters. But here's the thing, so he puts this letter out, he puts this list out, and I had another idea for another theory. So I want to do that today. I want to break down what I think. And this one to me is probably the one that's very near and dear to my heart. I mean, look, we'll just show you the shirt already, right? The Roost Cafe. That's what I want to know what's going on. I need to know what is going on with the Roost. But a little backstory before we jump into that. So in the original GameCube version, there was no Roost. When you wanted to see KK Slider perform, you used to go to the train station. You go to the train station and he'd be sitting out front strumming his guitar. No big deal, right? So then when you got to Wild World and when you got to City Folk, they did something where they put this cafe in the bottom of the museum. So down below in the museum was a place called the Roost. And when you would go down to the Roost, that's where KK Slider would perform and play music, and he would take requests and all that stuff. But also, you could drink coffee, and actually in those two games, when you would build a conversation with Brewster, he would then offer to take gyroids off your hands. Now, gyroids are these weird mechanical looking things that kind of dance and make these weird sounds based upon music and everything. So, and when you get numerous ones, they kind of play music real weird and differently. But that being said, so he was a massive collector of gyroids. So he used to do something where he would like, I'll take your gyroids off your hand. I will store them for you. And then if you ever want them, come back and I'll give them to you. And it was a nice way to keep them rather than sell them off, because they're very difficult to store. Like, where do you store them? They would be very difficult to find a place to put them all. Then we move on to New Leaf. And New Leaf, something different happens. KK Slider leaves the Roost, right? So KK Slider leaves the Roost and he goes to Club LOL, which is Dr. Shrunk's club, right? So he goes over there and he starts performing as DJ KK Sunday through Friday, and then on Saturday nights he'd perform as acoustic guitar KK. Now, the Roost actually moved out from the museum and moved out as a building of its own, right? But the difference was in this version of the Roost was when you would go, you could actually sit there, have cups of coffee, and after time, you would get a job and you would serve different animals and NPCs that would come to the Roost. You would serve them coffee. And depending on what they liked and what they didn't like you could earn prizes this way. It was kind of cool how they handled things. But the one thing they took away was the collection of gyroids. There was no way to collect gyroids at all in this game. You would have to set them out someplace to do it, and a lot of people yearned for that moment to come back. Now, we've seen some stuff with New Horizons. Two things. One, we see KK, and he is outside of the tent or outside of Town Hall, sitting on what looks to be a log, playing his guitar, right? Okay, so we know that he is obviously, I mean, KK would not be in this game, that's fine. The question then falls on, if he's outside there, what does the Roost become? Where does the Roost go? And what I personally am starting to believe and feel is this: it will not be in the museum again. The museum is way too massive and too much stuff going on that I feel like what's going to wind up happening is, as you go to KK Slider every Saturday. So every Saturday you go to KK Slider, you ask him to sing music, he plays the music, you do the thing. I believe that at that point, after so many weeks, he will tell you that he has a friend that wants to move into town, wants to bring his business into town. And it's none other than Brewster. And I think that at that point, you will then work with the Nooks to build the cafe, build the Roost Cafe from the ground up and get it back into town. I don't believe it's going to go in the museum just because I feel like there's way too much already going on in the museum. And I feel like if they add that, it kind of gets lost in the epicness that is the museum. Like when you go to the museum at this point, I feel like you're going to want to go check out some really cool stuff. Although it would be kind of nice to have one more thing added to the museum. It's I kind of question where they would even put it. Because when you look at it already, you have the 2 staircases going up, the 1 staircase going down, which is fossils or sea creatures down below, and then you have other stuff upstairs, and it makes you wonder, like, where could they even add something at this point, at this juncture? And I feel like the best thing to do would be to have, KK and Brewster kind of work together and do this thing, because I also don't think that DJ KK is going to come back. I think that DJ KK is done for this game. So I just get a weird vibe, like, because of not only that, because like when you watch the direct, there is a moment where someone scans in a DJ KK card and they just say, like, we're not ready to show this. But it just makes me think that, like, maybe DJ KK is not coming to this game. Then I take the idea of, like, it just makes sense for those two to kind of get back together again and work together again, just because a cafe and an acoustic guitar, they really go together. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of something that happens all the time. So if you have this coffee house type music being played, it just makes a lot of sense to me. Then I think the other thing that happens is, because the Roost is back, because KK is back in there, I think they're still going to allow you to work. I think that's going to be the other thing. But I also think that they're going to bring gyroids back in. I think that gyroids will come back into the mix. Brewster will collect them for you and hold them for you. Just because I think a lot of people probably complained that we didn't have that aspect. And probably people that are fans of Animal Crossing that work for Nintendo, they probably realized pretty quickly that, like, this was a mistake and we should have added this back in. I personally would love the fact to have the Roost back, have KK performing back in the Roost, and then as well give us the ability to store gyroids in the Roost. Just would be pretty fantastic in my opinion. I don't know. So at this point, I just want to ask you guys, like, what do you believe? Do you believe that the Roost will come back? I mean, I don't see how it can't. But the question is does the Roost come back as we know it with a building, or do you think it's going to go in the museum, or do you think that Brewster's just going to work someplace else? Like, maybe we get a cafe off to the side of the Nooks stores. Like, there are doors inside those stores that show, I don't know. And that's what I'm going to throw to you guys. Do you think that my theory of the Roost being a separated building, KK being in there on Saturday nights, him collecting gyroids, what are your opinions? Do you guys feel that I am correct, or do you feel like you have a different theory? Share it below, please. Let me know what you guys think. Real quickly, I do want to say this too, man. I want to thank everybody that has been so supportive of this channel the past couple weeks. I started this re-emergence of the channel and really doing a lot of Animal Crossing type stuff since New Horizons kind of got pushed and there wasn't a lot of news, and I felt I could lend a voice to kind of talk about Animal Crossing. But you guys have been overwhelmingly supportive, and I am extremely humbled by everything that you guys are doing for me and supporting me, and the nice comments and everything that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for that. You have no idea how much that means to me. But with that, if you guys like today's video, please slap the like button down below. Share it with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing, hitting that bell so you know when the new content comes out. Follow me Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitch at Nintendo Gurus. That is all. Peace out, Preston.